Hello and welcome to the final video for this assignment, part 3, example 2. Starting off by showing my get URL, then going on to my parallel cucumber branch, going through the history. Okay, so first things first is we're gonna create a new folder. So here we have one for each part. So we're gonna create a new one called part 3 example 2. We're gonna go into part 3 example 2. It's empty, so we're gonna clone it into this folder. Okay. After cloning it, we're gonna go and switch to the parallel cucumber branch. Okay, and now we're good. Now we can open up Eclipse with that just recently cloned folder. Okay, so let's delete this one. So we're going to import the project that we just cloned, which was in desktop, A4 demo, part 3 example 2, here, this one right here, and open up. And so first things first is I'm going to show you the feature files relating to part 3 example 2. So just like part 3 example 1, we had 4 feature files. We have the exact same thing for part 3 example 2. We have 4 feature files. The first one of them is relating to the setup that is required. Then one is relating to a student deregistering. Then the 2 remaining ones are students 3 and 4 registering. So the setup is very similar to part 3 example 1. We're simply creating the students and the course. Here we have a course C2 with cap size 3, creating the 4 students, logging in as student 1, student 2, and registering for that course that we just created. And then logging in as student 3 and 4 and only selecting the course. Then afterwards, the initialization will be complete. That's when we set that initialization flag in the step definitions to true, which will then allow the remaining 3 feature files to continue from this point. Because at this point, they're just waiting until that initialization is complete. It's just an infinite loop while that Boolean value is not equal to true. Afterwards, after the initialization is complete, it's going to wait until all the students completed their registrations and deregistrations respectively. And then after it's done, then it's going to do the following checks. It's going to check that at least 2 students are enrolled in the course, because the expected behavior is we can have either 2 or 3 students in the course in the end. It depends on the sequence of it depends on when the registration occurs. If the registration occurs at the very end, then we're only going to have 2 students in the course. However, if it happens in before the end, then we will have 3 students in the course. So, and we also know that the deregistration always succeeds because deregistration is always supposed to succeed. So the checks that we have is there's 2 students in the course, and the student with student number 2222222, that's the student who's deregistering, is not in this course. So basically checking that the deregistration succeeded and that there's at least 2 students in the course. So looking at the deregistration, it's similar. These 2 are very similar in nature. One is deregistering and one is registering. So if we take a look at the step definitions, oh, and by the way, all of these have a tag example 2. So when parallel cucumber is running the feature file, creating the runners for the feature files, it's only creating ones for these 4 feature files. So we're going to actually have to go ahead in pom.xml and change it from example 1, because that's what it was set to previously, and change it to example 2. Okay, so now it's going to create the runners for only the feature files relating to part 3 example 2. Now taking a look at the step definition. So first things first is when it's checking that 2 students are in the course, we're checking that the number of students in the course with this course code is at least greater than or equal to 2, which is what we're passing in. And when checking that this student is no longer in this course, what we're doing is we're getting that student and making sure that the number of courses he's registered to is equal to 0. So he's not in any of the courses. And then for deregisters, we've already covered registers for part 3, example 1. But for deregisters, it has its own sub-definition right here, which is basically very similar to the register one. However, register has register for course, deregister has deregister course. Otherwise, they're the exact same thing. They create their own input handler, they update the input handler student number, and they deregister for that course. So I think pretty much explained everything relating to the feature files. Yep, and perfect. Okay, so now to actually run the tests. So we're gonna to desktop A4 demo cd part 3 example 2, and here if we check, we're in the pom.xml directory. So clean. Okay, so the commands are so these are all the possible outcomes. We can have either student 2 deregistering first, so student 2 deregisters first, then either student 3 is first, or student 4 is first, and then student 4 is second, or student 3 is second. Or these were already covered in part 3 example 1, so I don't think there's any necessity of going over them again. So run number 1, run number 2, run number 3, run number 4, and run number 5. Okay, so before we do anything, let's open up the log file. These are getting in the way. Okay, and make sure that it's empty. Okay, so here we go. So it's first maven clean. Part 3 example 2, yeah. Okay, maven clean. Enter. So that's done. Maven generate test sources. Here it's creating the runnable classes for each of those 4 feature files, and then afterwards we run maven verify. And here we go. This will be our first run. We have 4 tests being run. And in the end, the build was successful, they all succeeded. And if we take a look at the log file, we can see in the end, so the last course operation that occurred, we have the following students in the course C2. We have students S1, S4, and S3. So we have S1, S4, and S3. And if we take a look, we can see student 2 deregisters for the, so first student 4 registers, followed by student 2 deregisters, followed by student 3 registers. So we have student 4 registers, student 2 deregisters, student 3 registers. We've covered this one. Covered. Now running it a second time, let's delete the log file, running it the second time, maybe verify. Okay. Here we go. Go to the bottom. We have S1, S3, and S4 again. S1, S4, and S. Oh, however, this time it's S1, S3, then S4. So if we take a look at what actually happened, student 2 registers. Sorry, here it is. Okay, so we have student 3 registers for the course successfully, followed by student 3 registers for the course. Okay, so student 3 registers for the course, followed by student 2 deregisters, followed by student 4 registers. So what we did is, sorry, which one was first? So we have student 2, student 3 registers. Okay, so we have student 3 registers, student 2 deregisters, student 4 registers. We've covered this one. Okay, running it 3 more times. We have, so delete this. Even verify. Success, check the logs. Nice. Okay, so here what we have in the end, we have student 1 and student 4 in the course in the end. So what happened here is we know this one was covered because I'll explain why. Student 4 registers for the course, so he gets added, okay? So at this very moment, we actually have student 1, student 2, and student 4. Student 3 attempts to register, but he can't because there's already 3 students in the course. But then student 2 deregisters at the end, and that's why it removed student 2. So if we take a look at the log files, we can actually see that student 4 registers for the course successfully. Then student 3 attempts to register for the course, but it fails because the course is full. And then student 2 deregisters for the course successfully. And that's why in the end we had 2 students in the course. And that is hence why I said you can have 2 or 3 students in the course in the end. Now running it 2 more times. Let me delete the log file. And as you can see, there so far all 3 runs have resulted in 3 different outcomes. Hence, it's not it shows how it is non-deterministic behavior. It's done. Bottom. Once again, we have student 1 and student 4 in the course. And the same exact thing happened. We have student 4 registering first, student 3 attempting to register, but the course is full. Then student 2 deregisters. So it's the exact same thing as what we just had in run number 3. And to run it for the very last time, success, go to the bottom. We have student 1, student 3, and student 4. Student 1, student 3, and student 4. And what happened here was student 1, student 3, and student 4. So we have student 3 registers, followed by so we have student 2 deregisters first, then student 3 registers, and then student 4 registers. So S2 deregisters, S3 registers, S4. So we have it here. So in our 5 runs, we've actually covered 4 out of the 6 possible outcomes that can occur, which is pretty good. And that demonstrates how it's completely non-deterministic behavior. That is all for this video. That is all for all the videos. Thank you very much for taking your time to watch them, and bye.